Compiled in the News Talk Radio newsroom and powered by DemeraraWaves.com.
Good day with your major newscast. I am Jessica Daw. First with the highlights. There has been a $25 million marijuana haul in quarantine. A 19-year-old man has been arrested for allegedly raping a drunk 16-year-old girl. In the region, Antigua and Barbuda may soon pardon foreigners who have overstayed their time in that twin island Caribbean nation. The details of these stories and more in just a moment.
Advertise with us on News Talk Radio Guyana 103.1 FM for best coverage on programs on motivation, beauty and health, parenting and relationships, knowing your rights, and a variety of enlightening content, and get value for your money. Call our helpful staff today on 223-1056 or 223-1041 today.
Now for the news in detail. The Customs Anti-Narcotics Unit (CANU) has seized 80 kilograms or 176 pounds of marijuana with a street value of over 25 million Guyana dollars. According to CANU, its agents were on an operation on December 9 and 10 between the Sandaka Pump Station, Skeldon, and Goat Dam area of the village of Line Path, Quarantine Berbice. CANU says the aim of these operations were to identify routes used for transporting narcotics. According to CANU, while on a patrol along a dam in the Line Path area on December 10, its officers noticed several people in one of the cane fields adjacent to the dam. The anti-drug agency says the officers identified themselves and made attempts to apprehend the persons, but they immediately fled in several directions and made good their escape. The officers reportedly said they combed the area where the persons were seen and discovered 4 brown salt bags containing 28 parcels containing cannabis wrapped in transparent plastic. The cannabis parcels were transported to the CANU headquarters. Police are searching for a man who allegedly killed a gold miner of Lethem. At the time of his death, he was working at Turtle Creek 5-Star Northwest District. Dead is a 38-year-old Victor Pedro. Police say he was killed at about 7 o'clock Friday night at his campground. Pedro's 13-year-old daughter reportedly told police that she was cooking in their kitchen when the female cook and her father started arguing over monies that he owed her. As a result, the suspect, who is the cook's reputed husband, got involved. Police said Pedro armed himself with a sharp instrument, lashed the suspect twice about his body, and slapped his music box out of his hand, and a scuffle ensued. Pedro's daughter, according to police, further claimed that she ran away, but within minutes returned where she saw her father with a gaping wound to the middle of his head and another to his left side face. The girl said the suspect and the female cook then made good their escape. Pedro, according to his daughter, confided in her that the suspect inflicted the wounds on him before he succumbed. The body was examined by ranks and 2 deep wounds were observed to his head and to his left side face. A 19-year-old man is in police custody in Region 9 Upper Takatu, Upper Essequibo because he allegedly raped a 16-year-old girl after a drinking spree. Police say that while transporting the victim back home, the suspect stopped the car and forcefully committed the act without the girl's consent. Investigators were informed that the girl and the man are known to each other. Police said that about 5 p.m. on December 10, the suspect picked up the victim at her home with his motorcar, and along with 2 of her friends, they consumed alcohol. A report was made to the police, and the victim was escorted to a medical facility where she was seen and examined. The Guyana Police Force said the suspect was contacted and told of the allegation of rape and cautioned, but he denied. He was placed into custody pending investigation. And now for the news in the region. In Suriname, 15 persons are now homeless as a result of a fire last night. Investigators suspect that the fire was the work of arsonists. Star News describes the house as a low-rise structure that was built of stone and wood. Firefighters and public-spirited citizens assisted in extinguishing the blaze. Investigators believe that fire started in a storage area of the house. The house was not insured and was connected to the electricity grid. 5 months after the assassination of President Jovenel Moïse, his wife, Martine Moïse, says she will never forget what caused blood to flow in the hearts of all. The Caribbean Media Corporation reports that she is urging Haitians to unite in keeping with the wishes of her late husband. Moïse was gunned down at his private residence on July 7. His wife was severely injured during the attack and was flown to the United States for medical treatment. The authorities have detained several people, including former members of the Colombia Army, as the probe continues into the killing. Jamaican authorities have also detained Colombian national and a former military officer, Mario Antonio. Additionally, last month, Turkish National Police arrested a Haitian businessperson who was wanted for involvement in the assassination. An international arrest warrant had been issued for the suspect identified as Samar Handal. In a video message, Martine Moïse repeated her call for justice and urged unity to build the country. Antigua and Barbuda's Prime Minister Gaston Brown says he will soon announce an amnesty for illegal immigrants in his twin island nation.
Even if you are not a citizen, even if you are an illegal immigrant, we want you to be part of this strong recovery. In fact, I'm contemplating whether or not we should not perhaps give an amnesty to the immigrants here who, for whatever reason or reasons, maybe here illegally. We don't want anybody to be in a situation in which they cannot contribute to live here permanently. So that's a discussion I'll be having with my colleagues next week and the upcoming weeks to determine whether or not we give an amnesty to the immigrants who are here, whose time may not be up to date in the country.
Antigua and Barbuda is home to thousands of Guyanese, nationals of the Dominican Republic, Jamaicans, and a small number of Trinidadians. Antigua Newsroom reports that Mr. Brown says his government does not want to disrupt family ties, as many of the immigrants who have overstayed their time now have children there.
And I'm not encouraging people not to keep their status current. I mean, it is illegal not to keep your status current, but at the same time, in a small society and recognizing many of these individuals, they are well integrated in our society. They have homes, they have they work, they have children here. We have to be flexible enough to allow for some formal integration of these individuals into society as we seek to get the contribution of all. So I will certainly speak further on that issue of a possible amnesty.
Both Prime Minister Brown's Antigua and Barbuda Labour Party and the opposition United Progressive Party have over the years leveraged the votes of immigrants closer to general elections. And here now is your international news coming from the BBC.
Hello, this is Julie Candler with the BBC News. A court in Hong Kong has given prison terms of up to 14 months to 8 pro-democracy activists who defied a police ban to hold a vigil for protesters killed during the Tiananmen Square massacre in 1989. The former media tycoon Jimmy Lai was among those sentenced. The Hong Kong authorities banned the vigil last year, citing COVID restrictions. But Simon Chung, a pro-democracy activist who now lives in Britain, says today's ruling was intended to stifle dissent.
The judge, Amanda Woodcock, lately has been politically appointed as the specific judge for handling state security law cases. So we understand that is just a blatant political persecution.
The Israeli Prime Minister Naftali Bennett has held talks with the Crown Prince of the United Arab Emirates, Mohammed bin Zayed, in Abu Dhabi. It's the first official visit by an Israeli Prime Minister to any of the 4 Arab states that signed normalisation deals with Israel last year. Sebastian Usher has more details.
The visit by Naftali Bennett to the UAE comes amid a diplomatic flurry in the region. Clearly high on the agenda in his talks with the UAE Crown Prince was Iran. The Israeli Prime Minister has been trying to prepare the way for possible military action against Tehran over its nuclear ambitions. His latest rhetorical broadsides come just as talks aimed at reviving the 2015 Iran nuclear deal have juddered back to life in Vienna. The UAE, along with Saudi Arabia, has been one of the main regional cheerleaders for strong action against Iran.
Prosecutors in Switzerland have closed a money laundering investigation involving the former King of Spain, Juan Carlos. He was accused of receiving huge bribes when a consortium of Spanish companies was awarded a contract to build a high-speed rail project in Saudi Arabia. Our Europe regional editor, Danny Eberhard, reports.
The announcement will be welcomed by Juan Carlos, who's currently living in self-imposed exile in the United Arab Emirates. He's always denied wrongdoing, but the news won't dispel the questions surrounding his financial affairs. Prosecutors in Geneva said in a statement that $100 million was paid by the Saudi Finance Ministry to a foundation owned by Juan Carlos in 2008. That was 6 years before his abdication and 3 years before the award of the rail contract. The prosecutors say it has not been possible to establish a sufficient link between the payment and the contract.
Denmark's former Immigration Minister Inger Støjberg has been sentenced to 60 days in jail for illegally ordering the separation of some young couples seeking asylum. In 2016, Ms. Støjberg ordered that married asylum seekers under the age of 18 could not be housed with their spouse. She said she was trying to protect girls and combat child marriage. World news from the BBC. The Sudanese security forces have fired tear gas to disperse protesters in the capital Khartoum demanding civilian rule. Hundreds had gathered near the presidential palace for the latest in a series of weekly protests. The demonstrators are opposed to the ousting by the military of civilian members of the government in October. They've also denounced the deal last month that reinstated the Prime Minister, Abdullah Hamdok. A top military commander for government forces fighting Houthi rebels in Yemen has been killed in the battle for the strategic city of Marib. Major General Nasser al-Daibani was described as having died in the line of duty. The battle for Marib, the last government stronghold in the north of Yemen, has been going on for months. Queues have formed at COVID vaccination clinics in Britain after the government announced the speeding up of a booster programme. The Health Secretary told the BBC that there was once again a race between virus and vaccine as the Omicron variant spread. The authorities in England now aim to offer a third vaccine dose to all adults by the end of the month. The Prime Minister Boris Johnson spoke to reporters at a vaccination centre.
Omicron is producing hospitalisations and sadly at least one patient has now been confirmed to have died with Omicron. So I think the idea that this is somehow a milder version of the virus, I think that's something we need to set on one side.
European football's governing body has been forced to repeat the draw for the Champions League round of 16 because of technical problems. UEFA declared the initial draw void and apologised. Manchester United had been erroneously drawn against Villarreal, a side they had already played in a qualifying group. Among the standout games in the new draw is a game between Paris Saint-Germain and Real Madrid. The last 16 matches will be played in February and March. BBC News.
And that was your international news. Here now is a recap of the highlights. There has been a $25 million marijuana haul in quarantine. A 19-year-old man has been arrested for allegedly raping a drunk 16-year-old girl. In the region, Antigua and Barbuda may soon pardon foreigners who have overstayed their time in that twin-island Caribbean nation. And that was your major newscast. I am Jessica Daw.
This has been the news, compiled in the News Talk Radio newsroom. For ongoing updates, visit demerarawaves.com, and you can check facebook.com/demwaves and twitter.com/demwaves.